Everybody. My name is Jeff Klausman. I'm a senior professor of English here at Washington Community College. I want to talk a little bit about grammar correctness and how to take care of your reader. So, when we write for others, like our instructors, we have a responsibility to respect them. We want to write in a way that allows them to understand us. At the same time, we have a responsibility to ourselves, our own culture, our own language, our own meanings. I'd like to show you a method for making sure that the writing you submit to your instructors is in the language you want to present and at the same time says what you wanted to say. Strategy has two steps, both pretty simple, using a grammar check and reading aloud. So first, the Google Grammar. Same as on Microsoft Word's grammar. You've probably used it many times, but the key is use it and make conscious decisions about whether you accept the suggestions or not. So here's a sample of student writing from my English 201 class, and I've changed things around to make it a little bit more obvious. But let's read this and see what choices they offer and decide whether we want them or not. So here we go. After looking over the course outcomes, there were outcomes that I definitely learned or at least gone over throughout my education. There. What's wrong with that? Okay, that's what I mean. There were outcomes that I definitely learned or at least gone over throughout my education. What's wrong with that? One word. Okay. Throughout my education. The first outcome I noticed right away was thinking critically. This is an idea I've been using for many years. My English classes started teaching. What's wrong with this? My English, two sentences. Okay, that makes sense. What's wrong with this? I've been. This was an idea I've been using. This was an idea I've been using. I like the I've been. That sounds more like me. Because up here I wrote, I definitely learned. Now I've been using. That's the same construction. And that sounds like the way I talk. And I'm going to leave like, even if it's not grammatically correct, I don't care. It's correct for me. My English classes started teaching us this skill since elementary school. Back then, two sentences. Back then it was a more bit. Oh, what's this now? In. My English classes started teaching us this skill since elementary school. My English classes started teaching us this skill in elementary school. In, that's what I say. Back then, it was a more basic level of critical thinking, but I was tasked with analyzing pieces of writing and figuring out his or her ideas. Over time, my critical thinking skills evolved, and I was tasked with more complex. Oh, this. I was, okay, capital. With more complex pieces of writing, and eventually, throughout, again, to one word, middle school and high school, I started learning how connect one author's ideas, how to connect one author's ideas. What's wrong with that? Possessive. How to connect one author's ideas to another. More recently, I learned, right? I learned how to construct my own complex idea from an author's writing. Okay, so that's it. I've gone through this grammar check here and I've made decisions based on the suggestions, but I haven't taken everything. None of the choices that I made, I accepted, changed the meaning of what I want to say, right? This sounds like me, so I'm going to leave it there. So that's what you do the first thing. You run through the grammar check, make sure that the choices that you make are the ones you want to make, and then read it aloud. So I'm going to read this again aloud and just to see what it sounds like. Trust your ear. You've been speaking English for many, many years, and if you're a native speaker, you've grown up and you swim in it. So let's read it. After looking over the course outcomes, there were outcomes I have definitely learned. Oops, I definitely learned. That was a mistake. I definitely learned, or at least gone over throughout my education. First outcome I noticed right away was thinking critically. This was an idea I've been using for many years. My English classes started teaching us this skill in elementary school. Back then, it was a more basic level of critical thinking, but I was tasked with, what's this? Oh, that should be capital. But I was tasked with analyzing pieces of writing and figuring out his or her ideas. His or her ideas. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Analyzing pieces of writing, figuring out his or her, I mean the authors, but I'm not even saying that here. So figure out the ideas. Okay, over time, my critical thinking skills, etc., etc. So that's how you do it. You have your instructors want to engage with your ideas, not struggle through errors. You have the right to your own language choices. You are in charge, so you have a responsibility to take care of your readers, to make conscious choices, and a responsibility yourself to make those conscious choices. So two things: use a grammar check to decide for yourself. Read aloud. Listen to your own voice. Okay, thanks for listening.